I'm Nathan Smith with Tallgrass TV, and we have with us here Emily Kassie for I Married My Family's Killer. And if you would just tell us what the film is about.
Great. So I Married My Family's Killer is a documentary film. It's 38 minutes long, and it's about intermarriage between victims of the Rwandan genocide and the people who killed their family.
Okay. And what role did you have in the production?
So I was the director, producer, co-cinematographer, co-sound design. I was a lot of things.
Okay. When did the project begin for you?
The project began for me really 4 years ago when I started traveling to Rwanda for the first time. It was my freshman year after college, and I had felt a really deep connection to the story of the Rwandan genocide, and I started going to Rwanda to witness accounts of genocide and spend time in the prisons and interview government officials. Over my time, over 4 summers there, I really started to discover stories of reconciliation that I found quite extraordinary, where you could find compassion and love amidst chaos and trauma. This story, I Married My Family's Killer, was in my final summer in Rwanda, which was a year ago. And we kind of stumbled upon these 3 couples who were in marriages that connected them to the family that killed their family.
So how long did it take for you to get the film together as far as shooting? Did you shoot that first summer, or was it just that 4th summer you get the shooting together and the editing?
So it was my final summer where I shot the film with Jesse Weil, my cinematographer, and my translator, Emmanuel Habimana. And the 3 of us were there for about a month shooting. And then when I came back, I started the long editing process. So I started spending 4 months on a preliminary 75-minute cut that I edited myself. And then I found my incredible editor, Jen Finneran, who is unfortunately not with us here, but she was the editor for the acclaimed documentary Ai Weiwei Never Sorry. And she was just nominated for an Emmy for that, and she's quite extraordinary. So I started working with her about midway through last year, and we started coming up with this kind of beautiful narrative, a way of really showing the romance and the trauma and the stigma of these people's lives. And then we got composer Ilan Isakov on board. We got Dustin Grella, who's an incredible animator who did our animated sequences, and producer Mark Johnston. So that was over the last year. So really it's been about a year and a few months since we started.
What was the hardest moment during production?
I think one of the most difficult moments was when we had 3 characters in a room, and 2 of them were married. And they told a story about how the woman's mother was not okay with their marriage, and the mother denied it. And we had them in a room together, the 3 of them, and they spoke about the mother's denial, and the mother had to sit there, and you could feel the tension. It was palpable. And that was a really difficult moment for us, where we thought, you know, are we causing harm here? Is this going to create more problems, or is this important enough to, you know, risk these people's relationships? Now, at the end of shooting, that same family, you know, said on camera, you know, this is really important for us to share what's going on. So we felt that ultimately it worked out, and hopefully them telling their stories together helped them move forward in their healing. But that was a tough moment where I certainly questioned my role as a filmmaker.
What was the most important lesson you learned while making the film?
Bring extra battery. The most important lesson that I learned. I think that when you deal with people who are traumatized, who have dealt with massacre and genocide, you have to take your time. You can't rush into anything. I was really humbled by this experience, people being able to open themselves up to me, but you know, I'm intruding on a community, and when I was trying to make things happen very quickly, it was inorganic, and it was tough. There was definitely distance between myself and the people in the film that we had to break through those barriers, especially with the language barrier being there. So I learned to slow down and really try to listen and allow the relationships to develop as they were, and not try to force anything. So that was a really important lesson for me.
What sort of impact has the film had now that you've begun screening?
Well, this is actually our first, for our premiere, really. So, you know, I hope it went well. I hope it had a great impact. But we're just about to start our kind of festival run, and we'll be screening at St. Louis in a month, and then hopefully about one a month after that, and hopefully get some distribution. But the impact that I'm hoping it has is, I hope people start asking questions again about Rwanda and about these communities.
What were some filmmakers or films that inspired you as a filmmaker?
Well, there are a few. I'm constantly inspired by both filmmakers and journalists who kind of go into filmmaking. I myself am a journalist. I work for the Huffington Post as a photo and video journalist. And Kristof is a big hero of mine in the work that he's done on women around the world, and he recently had a film come out called Half the Sky, and he's really committed to these social justice issues, and I think that's really important. There was a film I loved called Dear Zachary, and I can't tell you what it's about because it would give it away, but what the film did was come very close into the life of a family, right up until you could see their pain and their conflict and their love, and it's extraordinarily powerful. So that was a major influence on me. Michael Moore, that's pretty classic, documentary god.
So what's next for both the film and you as a filmmaker? What do you have coming up?
Great. So what's next for the film is that we're going to be screening at St. Louis International Film Festival. And after that, hopefully a bunch more film festivals we're waiting to hear back from right now. So hopefully you'll see it around. And hopefully distribution as well. For me as a filmmaker, I'm currently working for the Huffington Post as a photo and video journalist, making short documentaries. So I covered Ferguson. I was there for a week. I did 2 pieces on Syria recently. I have a piece coming out on surviving heroin overdose, and so I do a lot of short pieces that I feel very connected to. But I'm looking for my next big project. What that is, to be determined, but hopefully in the next year, I'll be flying somewhere far away in the world and making my next documentary.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.